Hey guys, it's me Rebecca. So this will be the start of another weekly vlog, and so far today I've just done some cleaning, and I also edited and exported my previous vlog. I also created a thumbnail and whatnot, so yeah, that's good that it's dealt with. And I did do some reading. If you saw my last vlog, you would have seen I was sorry. I was reading The Keeper of Night by Kylie Baker, and I think when I left off that vlog I was on page 196. Yeah, I'm on page 274 now, and we do see when Hyrule and Nevin and Esther going on a task that my word. Different characters' names keep going through my head instead of the white character's name, but one was tasked with to complete in order to become a Shinigami, and we see how she deals with the first Yokari that she was tasked to kill, who was named Giona, who she would freeze people and eat an organ and whatnot, and when the three of them find her in a village, she's frozen the entire village, and she tells them she didn't have a choice, which we never get any really explanation for. But we see the battle that they have to go through in order to destroy her, to kill her. How in that it seems like it might be the end of them before they're able to move on. But when she's a Reaper, she has this clock that allows her to freeze time. All Reapers have one. And she uses it to freeze time. And it's done by like holding the clock in your bear's hand, like touching their skin. And we see how they destroy her or not. And we see how they move on to the next one whom they have to kill, whose name is So Ona, who uses her abilities to not lure in fishermen, but she takes advantage of fishermen who show up on her doorstep on shore, and Link uses her voice, her hair to trap them. Like, she has a voice that entraps people, like with the way she screams, and we see that way it affects when she screams, as one has to cover her ears, as blood's coming out. It's a bit gruesome, but anyway, so Ona, she has extremely long hair that can be essentially used as rope. And with that one, I don't know, it just seemed a bit too easy compared to what they went through with the previous one, in the sense that, I mean, besides the fact that's taken and possibly gonna be used to feed Iso Ona, this, I don't know, it seems easy with when this cutting her up through using between how things are changing in Japan with the population growing rapidly, and how the population is located more in a certain area than another area, and it's affecting everyone in the army, or I guess Yoraki that's living there. So that's interesting. And we see how this whole thing is also affecting Nevin, how he is now the outsider in all of this, the other essentially, and he doesn't feel like he belongs, and how it's causing tension between him and Ren. And after what happens with Iso Ona, they don't necessarily make up. It seems like they put it behind them. And we also see with Ren how whatever the higher ups, what the Reapers did to her by causing out her name in that book, it's affecting her, because everything she touches dies, and it's this spreading, and worse, like even Iso Ona can sense it in her, like something's poisoning you, and one thinks it's death that's poisoning her. so curious to see that kind of that. And we also have Hyro, who both Hyro and Wen have their names like tattooed on their backs, and Wen sees that Hyro, his name isn't actually Hyro, and it's making her question, and like she's hoping it's something as simple as Hyro being like a nickname or something, but he is hiding something from her. He won't tell her the of the last Yoraki they have to go after him. Tememo no me. Because they're getting the information from a scroll that one was given, and Hyro is saying, oh, it's because I'm not telling you this legend because, or it changes. Like the legend in the scroll we were given is outdated, it won't be accurate, it won't help us, but yet he's still hiding something from one, and I'm curious on what that would be. So yeah, so far I'm liking it. I mean, I would be on page 274 if I wasn't, so yeah. And yeah, I think that's all for now. So see. So it's the next day, and I've done some more cleaning and whatnot, and I did do some reading, and I did finish The Keeper of Night just now, and I enjoyed it for the last bit. I just got a bit bored because we just see like some things related to Hyro and one that I just personally didn't care about. I think when it comes to anything like romantic and whatnot. But before I get there, let me backtrack to where I think I was yesterday. In the sense of they do find the last yokai they need to deal with, and named Tamamo Nome, who she would whisper into the ears of people and is like, I guess, control them and make them do her bidding. And she's done this to powerful emperors and kings throughout the centuries, and she was killed and has been reborn. And when the three of them first encounter, they think, oh, it's the old lady who's accompanying her. No, it's the little girl, and the girl's probably like 8, maybe? Like that young, and it seems like she doesn't remember her past lives, or they're unsure if she is able to. She doesn't know she's able to turn into this 9-tailed fox. And Nevin, he's against this, because I mean, it is killing a child who might be unaware that they are this powerful entity, and it does upset him quite a lot, and he doesn't want anything to do with it, and it's up to Hyro and Ren to deal with it. And Hyro kills the grandmother, but they're unable to kill the little girl as she escapes, and Nevin is protecting her. And Ren thinks Nevin's been, I guess, like enchanted by her. Should be the best way to say it, and it's not. It's just he's just a good person. He wants to do good, and the only thing they can come up with is tricking Izami, and they try to do that. And Wen is told the fate of her mother is that Izami saw Wen's mother as a coward, and because of that, and because of the fact she had a child with a weeper, which I kind of would have liked to have gotten an explanation on why that was so frowned upon, because they're both creatures of death, but could be like, I don't know, like old tradition, or like language with people of different races, different kinds is frowned upon, like the old ways of seeing things, possibly. I don't know, I just would have gone to have liked to see why that was frowned upon. And Izami like accepts one, but yeah. And we also do learn Hyro's connection to Izami in a way. She has other Reapers called not Reaper, sorry, Shinigami call him a leech, and we just learn the whole backstory. And Hyro, I guess to get his revenge, because he doesn't seem to be appeasing her, kills her, and he becomes the new goddess of death, and they're both dark souls, I should say, and then one kills him and becomes the goddess of death. So I'm curious on what that is done, because I might read book 2 as it is only a duology, but Hyro, because Nevin still disapproves of him, with one's, I guess, permission, casts him into this prison, which is darkness, and the issue is now no one's able to find him, or Toami Nome, who is with him, so yeah, I'm curious, and if they're able to find him, because earlier one did get a prophecy being that she will, that which you seek will never be found, and right now she is seeking her brother, and it is prophesied she won't be able to find him, and she is not gonna allow that go down. Like, it's still, she doesn't care about anything other than her brother, even though she does realize that in the end, like, he is kind of ignorant in a sense, like, he doesn't know what it's like to be unwanted, even if he kind of does, but it's not because of who his parents are, but because he is on the side of Ren, so yeah, and it seems like they had different upbringings as their parents would read to him, while they never read to her. And I'm hesitating on saying their parents because it's really just her father and his mom and her stepmother, so yeah. And yeah, I think really that's all for now. I will let you know what book I'm planning to read next, but I should say I did give this 4 stars even through the ends. Just because it was some romantic stuff with Ren and Hyro that I didn't care about, but we do see, I guess, the darker side of Hyro that reminds Ren too much of herself, and there can be 2 kinds of them. So, yeah, 4 stars, and I'll let you know what I'm planning to read tomorrow. So, yeah, I'll see you. So, it's the next day, and I've done some reading. I started Open Water by Caleb Azumi Nausin. And this is about, in a crowded London pub, 2 young people, both are black British, both won scholarships to private schools where they struggle to belong. Both are now artists, he a photographer and she a dancer, and both are trying to make their mark in a world that by turns celebrates and rejects them. Tenderly they fall in love, but 2 people who seem destined to be together can still be torn apart by fear and violence. And over the course of a year, they find their relationship tested by forces beyond their control. Narrated with deep intimacy, Open Water is at once an achingly beautiful love story, an impotent insight into race, masculinity that asks what it means to be a person in a world that sees you only as a black body, to be vulnerable when you are only respected for strength, to find safety in love only to lose it. And right now I am on page 74, and I have to say I'm very much enjoying this. I'm loving the writing style. It's just very beautiful, I would say. But we see these 2 people, and I should say from the guy's perspective, he is doing his narration second person, so it's like we're addressing her, and I don't think we ever really got to know their names, but yeah, if you don't like second person, like some people, but he sees her at this pub and he asks his friend to introduce them, not knowing that his friend is dating her. And we see how they grow extremely close quite quickly, and how other people around them, like a poet they're working with, the friend that introduced them, they see there's something between them that's more than just a friendship. And he does have feelings for her, it seems like. And it seems she replicates those feelings, but something in her is like preventing them from being together. And we also see, I guess, the brutality that black people face when dealing with the police, how they have to deal with encounters and try to do what it takes to protect themselves. And we also see how through art, through dancing, photography, books, they try to find themselves, and are able to express themselves in a world that's trying to suppress them. And so I don't know, I just like find it quite beautiful the way as well that Caleb is since this writing about the seasons, about, because I'm currently in Harvard's taking place in summer, and the way he's describing it is this, well, beautiful, that's all I have to say. Beautiful. And yeah, we don't want to say a lot of it because it is quite a short book, and honestly what I'm describing is like, but we do see their relationships with his parents. It seems they're quite distant, I wouldn't say, I don't know, but he did have to take a role in raising his younger brother, and we see as well that this is during a time where there is grief in the family, because they had to go to Ghana to bury the grandmother who had died, and then when they get back, they are told, oh, the grandfather is also dead, or one of the grandfathers. And we see with her family, I mean, it seems she has a pretty distant relationship with her mother, who her mother does have to rent her room out when she's at Dublin for university, so there was that. But so far, I don't know, I just really like the writing. Let's say that's the story, like how modern it is, really. It's just two people in a world that's trying to suppress them, trying to find themselves, try to find their voice, try to, I guess, just not stop, but try to find ways to prevent being suppressed in themselves, and being able and find ways to express themselves. I don't know. It's like, and also in a world where it's just two people falling in love, but something is holding them back. It's they're afraid of falling in love, seems like, and even through there are intimate moments between them that they just don't really talk about it. It's like, man, that happened, and I guess it will continue to happen, like them sleeping next to one another. So, yeah. And so far, I'm just enjoying it. I just really think the writing is beautiful, so, yeah. And, yeah, I think that's all for now. So, I'll see you. So, it's the next day, and I've done some reading, and I did finish Open Water by Caleb Nelson, and I very much enjoyed this, and I'm giving it 5 stars. The writing was extremely beautiful, like I gushed about yesterday, and I don't know, it's like how he allowed himself to feel fully vulnerable around her, to open up to her, to allow her to see him, to truly see him. And I don't know, I like that. Like, it did take some time, I guess, I would say, but and from where I left off with you yesterday, we see how they do become more than friends. Initially, it's like they're more than friends, but they're not properly together, and it seems like they do become properly together. And that's not, I guess, the main point in the second half, and the second half is like really exploring, I guess, his relationship with himself, with the fact he is a black man, and most of the world see him as that, like he's a black person, and there's, oh god, not this, but there's, oh my god, what is that word? It's like on the tip of my tongue. But there's prejudice there against him, I would say. Like, he's labeled as someone who is violent, someone who should know their place, like someone to put down essentially. And we see how he has moments when he is with other black people where he doesn't feel like he is just a black man. He feels a kinship with other people. Like, he doesn't feel so alone in the world. But on the other hand, we also see how he has to witness and experience violence that takes place against him. There's the scene when he's at the barber shop and with a whole other bunch of black men, and these men are outside the shop wanting someone inside who claims that they got a one person, and when the police start showing up, these men flee, but then the police treat the victims of what happened in the barber shop as suspects, as the people who did something wrong. It's like the police treat them like they did something wrong just by existing, and we see how later this Daniel, like, he is cute. It seems like it's never truly like actually said, but it is hinted at. And the main character, he feels a lot about this because he went into Daniel in the streets. And he just feels a lot, and as well he doesn't allow himself to be vulnerable with her about how he's feeling. He's kind of locked himself away, pushed her away, and it's affected them both. And she doesn't want that. When she tries to push to get him to open up, he pushes back and pushes her further away, and we see she breaks up with him essentially, and he is still struggling, and he is afraid to be vulnerable, to open up, be in open water, to feel so exposed. And I guess that's what the title is about. It's like allowing yourself to be exposed. It doesn't matter if you open your mouth, you'll drown, but if you keep your mouth closed, you will suffocate. And it's like you have to choose. Essentially what you're doing. We see how he opens up to her and how she tries to truly see him by also getting to, I guess, how he also expresses himself through his photography, and how he's also continuing to express himself by writing music, by writing down how he's feeling, by turning it into lyrics. And it's just, I guess, not taking back power, which is also important, but allowing yourself to be more, to feel more, I guess. So, yeah, overall I very much enjoyed this, and I gave it 5 stars, and yeah. And I think I will discuss what book I'm planning to read next tomorrow, because I do have an idea what I want to read next, but there's also a case I might didn't have it, because it's a book I haven't read from, it's an author I haven't read from before, so yeah. But yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and I've done some work and whatnot, and I did do some reading, and I did start Anxious People by Frederick Buckman, and this was translated by Neil Smith. And this is about looking at real estate isn't usually a life or death situation, but apartment open house becomes thus that when a failed bank robber bursts in and takes a group of 8 strangers hostage. Each of them carries a lifetime of grievances, hurts, secrets, and passions that are ready to boil over. None of them is entirely who they appear to be. In short, they are the worst group of hostages in the world. As the minutes tick by, they begin to suspect that the criminal mastermind holding them hostage might be more in need of rescue than they are. As the authorities and the media surround the premise, these recurrent allies will reveal surprising truths about themselves and set in motion a chain of events so unexpected that even they can hardly explain what happens next. And I'm currently on page 98, and I do have to say, I feel like the synopsis is quite misleading in a sense. You are really following the people after after the hostage situation is over, and you follow a wide array of characters. I would say you do get the perspective of the detectives investigating what happened, how it's a father and son duo, and the father seems to have disapproved of the fact his son became a cop. He didn't want him to go down the same career path as him. How they seem to be undermined by their boss's boss, who are sending detectives from Stockholm to handle the investigation, and they look down upon or think that people from Stockholm think they're better than everyone else and are not naive but arrogant almost. How the father went above the son and called them in and the whole thing. We also follow the bank robber who he grew up with an alcoholic mother. The father wasn't around, and he promised himself he would never cause his children to be afraid of him or worry about him. And he is going through a rough time in his life where he learned his wife was cheating on him with his boss, and the boss was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't work here anymore. This is going to be awkward. And he's in a temporary house in a place where it's he has to pay a certain amount. And he is trying to get his life back together. I mean, he wants to see his kids, but his ex-wife is kind of preventing that because of where he is currently in life. She doesn't think it's stable enough for them, and his new job is withholding money from him, and he needs the money to pay the temporary apartment he's in, and that's why he robs the bank, or tries to, for the exact amount he needs, except the bank happens to be a cashless bank, so that's the whole thing. And we also follow the bank teller, a 20-year-old who's obsessed with social media, who's lonely in life, and yeah. And we also follow, I guess, a bank owner, or the bank owner, I'm not entirely sure, named Zara, who is having trouble sleeping, and she goes to open houses of middle-class people and has for a decade. It's almost an obsession for her, and we're not entirely sure why. And she is seeing a psychologist, and both Zara and Jack, who is the son police officer, it's a very loose connection in the sense, a decade before this, Jack was trying to talk someone down from jumping off a bridge, and that person eventually did decide to jump, even though Jack tried to talk them down. But this person, they put their money in stock, they listened to advice the bank gave them, they lost everything when the stock market crashed, and they lost everything. And this person, before they decided to jump, wrote a letter to the bank owner who gave them this advice, who also, not gave them this advice. They tried to take out a loan, and that was rejected. And so they wrote that letter to the person who rejected the loan, and that person was Zara. So we see that, and yeah, we just see how some individuals, they're taking this seriously when kind of talking to the cops. Some are not taking it seriously, and as well, there's a lot of issues and a lot of, I don't know, ill-timing, because there's a lot of assumptions, I would say, that led to this situation, in the sense the bank robber, my word, when he went out after the teller was like, yeah, I'm gonna call the police. They saw a traffic officer person, and they thought it was a real cop, and that's what caused them to went into the building. And when Jim and Jack went into the building, they saw a box of Christmas lights out in the hallway and assumed it was a bomb, and that made the situation worse. And seeing that is also interesting. And they are also talking to the witnesses, because for some reason, somehow, the robber disappeared. Like, when everyone walked out, they just disappeared. And it's like, I don't know, it's an kind of apartment where it's an open layout, so there shouldn't be a lot of places to hide. So where is he? And they assume that someone in that apartment had something to do with it, and it's interesting. And yeah, the thing, like, what causes someone to do things in life, I guess, is important, because we are getting a lot of backstory, a lot of messages, I would say, about that. And yeah, so far I'm liking it, I would say. But yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and so far I've just run some errands and whatnot. I just did my grocery shopping and whatnot, and it was quite chilly day. Like, the wind was it was definitely winter out there today. That's the feeling of it. And I'm saying that because yesterday I was talking to my mother, and she and I both said it felt like March. So when it's like not so cold, but yeah. So yeah, I'm planning to be under a blanket when I finish this update, because I'm freezing. But I have also done some reading today of Anxious People, and putting me on page 176, and I was laughing at this. We do see with Zara, like, she did also witness the man jump off the bridge, but then also saw this girl, and the next week the girl was contemplating jumping off the bridge. She was even on an ledge, when Jack, the Sun police officer, rescued her, where really like forced her off, and she hit her head on the pavement. And yeah, and Zara had been following this girl, like, through her studies, through her career, to when the girl became a psychologist, and she is the psychologist that Zara is seeing, which I find quite interesting. And yeah, and we do see the actual hostage situation now. It's so unserious, like, no one is actually scared. They're either rumbling, like, out of nerves, or they're just like, what the hell is going on? I want to go by my day. Like, I think the most anxious person in the room is our bank robber, who's just trying to get everyone to shut up so he can think of what to do next, and no one is listening to him. Like, I think they all think that the pistol he's holding is a toy. So, and we see, like, all of their, I guess, relationships with one another, how there are two couples, married couple, who have been married for a very long time, who it seems like they're in a point of their relationship where they just have nothing in common, nothing to do. It's like, they buy apartments, renovate them, and then sell them at a higher price, and that seems like the only thing they are able to do together, as one of them, it seems like, was forced into retirement and whatnot, and the only thing that made them happy being together is going to IKEA, weirdly. And they have been to every IKEA in Sweden, and at the last one, there was a romantic gesture of buying a piece of cake, which they haven't done before. So, and we see her, not anxiety. We see the woman Annalena, I believe her name was. Not her anxieties, but she wants to make her husband happy, and just like her husband, Watcher, wants to make her happy. But Annalena took it one step further. When I go to these open houses, they always try to sabotage, and not the apartment, but they try to put fears into the other perspectives, buyers' minds, and to prevent them from putting an offer down. And she went so far to hire someone to just make things worse, make the other perspective buyers not more uninterested in buying an apartment by a noisy neighbor, or a neighbor who's doing inappropriate things or watching inappropriate things. And the kicker's like, this person will dress like a rabbit and in his underpants and just sit in a bathroom and looking like he's, well, doing his business. So yeah, we see that, and how when that's out in the open, how Roger, the husband, his words here is that his assumption, which I would say is also the correct assumption, is that she's having an affair. Like, they have been together for decades, and that's what he thinks. Like, so we see that relationship. With the other relationship, we have Julia and Ro, and I think it's Julia who's pregnant with their first child, or Ro. I think it's Ro, I want to say. I could be so wrong. But they are looking for a new apartment to, live, to really start their family. And then Julia, she has her anxieties. She is always finding something wrong with the place, for some reason that's not good enough, and they're at their end of this pregnancy, and they need to know. And yeah, I'm curious on that. And we also have this older woman, Estelle, who is there, and she's just so calm and human. So we just see that, how and we also have Zara, who's cold towards everyone in the bank robber. And you see how everyone, one thing I like about the book is, like, these are people from a small Swedish town, and they all have opinions about people in Stockholm. Like, oh, they're such a Stockholmer, like, in a way of, like, how someone behaves. Like, the police view it as, like, oh, they're idiots. Estelle views it, Estelle, or I don't know, I think it's Estelle, who views it as, like, they're more liberal, they're more forward-thinking, they're more accepting. Then there's the people who are actually Stockholm, who you can blame them. And then they also address the Stockholm syndrome, and I'm wondering if that will come into play, if they just felt bad for this bank robber and they all contributed to help him. But yeah, this was just so unserious that I was cackling. So yeah, but so far I'm not very much interested, and I am interested if we will get a perspective from the real estate agent. So what her whole view on what happened and what her deal was, if she's just like a real estate agent who has like a weird business name. It's like the real estate companies, like House Tricks, like HOWS, and as well weird ways of doing business, like holding an open house the day before New Year's Eve. Like, that's a bit weird. So yeah, I am curious on how this plays out, just because I don't know, I'm just liking it a lot, and curious on what's gonna happen next. And yeah, and I think that's all I have for now. I'm gonna go bury myself under 2 blankets, so I'll see you. So it's the next day, and it did snow today, and it started snowing again. And I did go out to shovel, so I did do that. And yeah, And I did do some reading, and I did finish Anxious People by Frederick Bachman, and I like this. There's some things like I don't know how to describe it, and some I don't know. But yeah, overall, I like this at the end, and I gave it 4 stars. We do see more of the situation itself. We see, I guess, that people come to know one another and come to know the sort of relationship they're in with their partners and whatnot. And we do learn more of the bank robber, who is a woman, and her story is basically the same. It's this: she had a good life, she thought, and then her husband's like, yeah, I had an affair with your boss. There we are. And she lost everything, and she's just trying to keep her girls, and I think the reason like that bank robber is being called, he's this, typically you expect that kind of behavior, like trying to rob a bank and then holding people hostage, to be something that men does. You don't expect a woman to do it, and it's after they realize, or the cops think that the bank robber was in disguise as the real estate agent who wasn't accounted for. Except we learn later on that the real estate agent was there. She was okay. In the closet, there is this old vent that's not really being utilized anymore, and it's because this apartment and the one next to it were once 2 apartments. Were once one separate apartment that were made into 2 apartments, and the vent's not utilized. They said then. The real estate agent, when she heard about the bank robber and heard that there was a gun, she hid in the air vent and tried to go out, but wasn't able to. And yeah, we see how the other hostages try to help the robber to escape, trying to come up with an idea. And it's really Jim, the father police officer, who takes pity on the bank robber, as she reminds him of his daughter, and he understands the situation she's in. He's like, there's another apartment down the hall by the elevator, you can hide there while the other hostages can make it look like the bank robber's still inside this apartment. And she does that, and yeah, that's how she gets away. And we see how Jackie takes the blame for this role, really the fall of this from the journalists, from the Stockholmers and whatnot. And really we follow the lives of the people afterwards. How Estelle, who's one of the hostages, she owned the apartment initially. She was gonna sell it because her daughter thought it was too big for one person to live on her own there, as her husband had died, and she's like, no, I changed my mind. And she allows Estelle to move in, and she's the one who pays Estelle, and it's the amount that Estelle needs to look good to the lawyers. And Joe and Julia, they bought the apartment that was down the hall, which was also up for sale, and to be closed. And you see the aftermath of how they continue to stay in touch, and it's like almost a found family sort of situation. And how Zara, she sees, I guess, the good and her mistakes, how the bank's not perfect, how it's not good, how it's not the customers or the people who put the money in the bank who's at fault. It's the bank who's really at fault for losing their money in the first place, and how she quits and whatnot. And honestly, she finds herself in a way, or is starting to find who she really is. And yeah, we just see people take lessons from this whole case and try to, I guess, better their lives. I wouldn't say that. Yeah, so overall 4 stars. I do say I do like that. I don't know. I do. It doesn't make sense to me now because it's less. It's less about the anxiety that people are having in this current situation because, well, really, they're not that anxious about being held hostage. It's more about the anxiety people have in life about worries if they will be a good partner, a good parent, and then the worries of are they still a good partner, are they still a good parent, and the regrets they have later on because they were able to take opportunities while the other allowed it and was almost prevented to take opportunities. So there's that, and I do like how we had older characters as they did give advice to young characters, and you do see like even if these people like they've lived life, I mean, they still have their worries and anxieties about life, and I do like that. So overall 4 stars. And with that, that is also the end of this vlog. And if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, tell me what you've been up to recently. If you want to, please subscribe to this channel. If you want to follow me on any social media, then all those links are in the down bar below. I'll see you guys next time I post.